My friends accused me of wearing makeup to be the most attractive in our group. When I told them I just enjoy it, they said I was lying and trying to steal attention. Friendship is supposed to be a safe space, a place where you're accepted for who you are without judgment. For years, that's what I thought I had with Catherine, Mia, Grace, Lily, and me, a tight-knit group that weathered everything from high school crushes to college rejections. We'd been inseparable since our early teens, bonded over late-night sleepovers, spontaneous road trips, and countless heart-to-heart conversations. Sure, we had our share of petty arguments and misunderstandings, but nothing ever threatened the core of our friendship. At least, not until that Saturday evening. We had planned a casual meetup at our favorite local cafe, the kind of place where mismatched chairs and dim fairy lights created an atmosphere that felt like home. I was excited. It had been a long week, and the thought of unwinding with my friends was comforting. That day, I decided to put on some makeup. Nothing elaborate, just a bit of concealer to even out my skin tone, a swipe of mascara to make my eyes pop, and a touch of lip gloss for a subtle shine. It wasn't about impressing anyone, it was about feeling good in my own skin. I'd been experimenting with makeup more lately, finding it fun and empowering, a small way to express myself. But as soon as I stepped into the cafe, I sensed something was off. They were already seated at our usual table near the window, chatting and laughing, but their energy shifted the moment they saw me. It was subtle, a slight pause in conversation, a fleeting glance exchanged between Mia and Grace, but enough to make my stomach knot. I approached with a smile, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling. "Hey, guys." Mia, ever the blunt one, was the first to react. She raised an eyebrow, her gaze sweeping over me. "Wow, you're really going all out today," she remarked, her voice laced with sarcasm. I chuckled lightly, brushing off the comment. "It's just makeup, Mia. No big deal." But the look she gave me wasn't playful. It was scrutinizing. Grace leaned in, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Yeah, it's just that you've been wearing it a lot lately. Is there a reason?" Catherine and Lily stayed silent, their expressions neutral but attentive. I could feel their eyes on me, waiting for my response. I paused, caught off guard by the question. "I wear it because I like it," I said carefully. "It's fun. It's not about anyone else." But they weren't convinced. "No, seriously," Mia pressed, her tone sharpening. "You've been wearing more makeup lately, and it's kind of obvious that you're trying to be the prettiest one in the group. It's like you want to outshine us." Her words felt like a slap. Outshine them? Was that really how they saw me? I hadn't even considered that my personal choice could be perceived as competitive. I sat there, stunned, my mind racing to process the accusation. I opened my mouth to respond, but nothing came out. The air around us felt heavy, charged with tension. Grace's gaze was steady, Mia's confrontational, and even Catherine and Lily's silence felt accusatory. The camaraderie we once shared felt like it was slipping through my fingers. "We all wear makeup from time to time," Grace added, her voice deceptively calm, "but it just feels like you've been doing it more and more lately. It's not a big deal, but, well, it kind of makes us feel like you're trying to one-up us." The blood drained from my face. How had something as simple as makeup turned into this? I wasn't trying to compete with anyone. I just liked the way it made me feel, more confident, more me. But their words planted a seed of doubt. Had I unintentionally made them feel insecure? Was I the villain in this narrative without even realizing it? "I'm not trying to outshine anyone," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "I'm just doing what makes me feel good. It's not about you guys at all." Lily, who had been quiet until now, spoke up softly. "But it does kind of feel like you're trying to be the center of attention." Her words, though gentle, cut just as deep. My heart pounded in my chest. I couldn't believe this was happening. I wasn't someone who craved attention or wanted to be the most attractive in our group. I just liked experimenting with makeup, the same way some of them liked experimenting with fashion or hairstyles. "Honestly, I don't even know how to respond to this," I admitted, struggling to keep my composure. "I do it for me. I like the way it makes me feel confident. It's not a competition." But their expressions remained skeptical. They didn't believe me. They thought I was hiding some ulterior motive, that my love for makeup was a calculated move to steal the spotlight. It's just kind of hard to believe, Mia said, crossing her arms over her chest. You say it's for you, but it sure looks like it's for everyone else. You do look good when you wear it, and that's great, but it just doesn't feel genuine. Her words stung more than I cared to admit. How had our friendship come to this? I wanted to scream that it wasn't about them, that I wasn't seeking validation from anyone but myself. But it was clear that no matter what I said, they had already made up their minds. I'm not trying to steal attention from anyone, I repeated, this time with more conviction. If you guys feel like I'm doing that, I'm really sorry. But this is my thing, it's for me. I swear. Mia wasn't buying it. Okay, but if it's really for you, why does it seem like you're always trying to be the best-looking one in the group? Why not just embrace a more natural look like the rest of us? That was the breaking point. The weight of their judgments, the unfair assumptions, it all felt suffocating. I couldn't understand how something so personal had become a battleground for their insecurities. I had never imagined that my friends, the people who were supposed to know me best, would question my intentions like this. The rest of the evening passed in awkward silence, punctuated by forced small talk and uncomfortable glances. When we finally parted ways, I felt an emptiness settle in my chest. The bond we once shared felt fractured, and I didn't know how to fix it. That night, as I wiped off my makeup, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had done something wrong. Not because I believed them, but because it hurt to think they saw me that way. The mirror reflected a face that was bare, but the sting of their words lingered, etched deeper than any cosmetic ever could. I had no idea how we'd move past this or if we even could. The next few days felt like walking through a fog. Every word from that night replayed in my head, especially Mia's sharp accusation, "You're trying to be the prettiest one in the group." It echoed louder each time, twisting into something uglier. I kept asking myself, was I really giving off that vibe? Was I making them feel lesser just by wearing makeup? I wasn't ready to let things fester, though. We'd been friends too long to let this slide without trying to clear the air. So, I decided to reach out. One-on-one conversations felt like the best shot at fixing this mess. Maybe without the group dynamic, they'd listen. I texted Mia first. She was the blunt one, the ringleader in this whole thing. If I could get through to her, maybe the rest would follow. Hey, can we talk? I feel like there's a lot we need to clear up. Her reply was almost instant. I don't think there's anything to talk about. If you want to wear makeup, fine. But don't pretend it's not for attention. That hit harder than I expected. I stared at the screen, reading her words over and over, as if they'd change if I looked long enough. I wanted to reply, to defend myself, but what was the point if she'd already decided I was lying? Still, I wasn't ready to give up. Next, I texted Catherine. Her response was casual, like none of it mattered. You're overthinking it. We're all good. But if we were all good, why did it still feel like a knife twisting in my chest? Lily's reply was softer, but just as frustrating. Maybe just try wearing less makeup next time? That way it won't feel like you're competing. Competing. That word stung the most. Since when was confidence a competition? I wasn't trying to win anything. I just wanted to feel good in my own skin. Why couldn't they understand that? I didn't even bother texting Grace right away. By then, I was too drained. When I finally did, her reply was simple. I think we just need some space. Space. It felt like the final blow. I hadn't meant to push them away, but here we were. After that, I couldn't shake the feeling of guilt every time I picked up my makeup bag. I'd stare at it, wondering if maybe they were right. Was I lying to myself? Had I been seeking attention without realizing it? The doubt was like a shadow, always lingering. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't doing this for anyone but me. I wasn't trying to outshine my friends or make them feel bad about themselves. I loved the way makeup made me feel confident, expressive me. Why was that so hard for them to believe? Days passed, and the silence between us grew heavier. I realized then that no matter how much I tried to explain myself, they weren't ready to hear it. They had made up their minds. But I couldn't keep shrinking myself to fit into their comfort zones. When we finally agreed to meet again, the air was thick with unspoken tension. We sat at the same cafe at the same table, but everything felt different. The easy laughter and shared glances were gone, replaced by awkward silences and forced small talk. I knew I had to address it. I couldn't pretend everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. I know you guys think I'm trying to outshine you, I said, breaking the silence. My voice was steady, but my heart pounded in my chest. But that's not what this is about. I wear makeup because I enjoy it. It makes me feel good. It's not about competing or stealing attention. Mia rolled her eyes, but didn't say anything. Lily fidgeted with her napkin, avoiding my gaze. Catherine just stared at me, her expression unreadable. It doesn't feel that way, Mia finally muttered, her tone less sharp but still defensive. Well, it is, I replied, firmer this time. I can't control how you feel about it, but I know my intentions. I'm not going to apologize for expressing myself. Lily sighed, her voice barely above a whisper. It just feels like you're trying to be better than us. That's not on me, I said softly. If my confidence makes you uncomfortable, that's something you need to figure out. But I'm not going to dim myself to make you feel better. The words hung heavy between us. No one knew what to say. But I wasn't going to fill the silence. I'd said my piece. Finally, Grace spoke up, her voice quieter than usual. Maybe we've all been overthinking this. Maybe. But the damage had been done. The trust, the ease we once had, it wasn't there anymore. We didn't resolve everything that night. The tension was still thick, the wounds still fresh. But for the first time since that awful night in the cafe, I felt lighter. I had stood my ground. I had defended myself, not out of anger, but out of love for who I was becoming. Whether they accepted that or not, I knew I was going to be okay. After that night, things didn't magically go back to normal. The tension still hung between us like an invisible wall, and no one seemed eager to tear it down. We still met up occasionally, but it wasn't the same. The easy laughter, the spontaneous plans. It all felt forced, like we were pretending to be the friends we used to be. I kept thinking maybe time would smooth things over. But weeks passed and nothing changed. The distance between us grew, not just emotionally but physically. I found myself hesitating before replying to group messages, wondering if I even wanted to be part of conversations that felt so surface level now. The trust had been fractured, and no amount of pretending could glue it back together. One day, as I was getting ready for another meetup, I stared at my reflection longer than usual. The makeup on my face wasn't heavier or different, but the weight of their words lingered in my mind. Was I really doing this for me? The answer was still yes. But now, it felt like I had to constantly defend that truth, even to myself. When I arrived at the cafe, I noticed how their eyes subtly scanned my face. They didn't say anything, but the judgment was there, unspoken but loud. I realized then that it didn't matter what I said or did. They had already decided who they thought I was. That's when it hit me, I didn't need to prove anything to them. I didn't need their approval to feel confident or authentic. If they couldn't accept me for who I was, makeup and all, maybe our friendship had run its course. I stopped trying after that. I stopped reaching out, stopped explaining myself, stopped hoping they'd come around. And surprisingly, it felt freeing. The space between us gave me room to breathe, to rediscover who I was outside of their expectations. Over time, I found new friends, people who didn't care whether I wore makeup or not, who celebrated my confidence instead of questioning it. They didn't see my choices as competition but as self-expression. With them, I felt seen and accepted, not judged. But that didn't mean it didn't hurt. Losing people you thought would be in your life forever always does. Sometimes, I still wonder if things could have been different, if maybe I could have handled it another way. But deep down, I know I stayed true to myself, and that's what matters. In the end, the experience taught me something important. Real friends don't make you feel small for shining. They don't turn your self-love into a threat. And if they do, maybe they were never really your friends to begin with. I still wear makeup, maybe even more than before. But now, every brushstroke feels like a quiet rebellion, a reminder that I'm not here to fit anyone's narrative but my own. And honestly, I've never felt more beautiful.